are you? Okay. Welcome back to my audiobook. We have the next 2 chapters, or however many, honestly, of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. And remember, you can always request books you'd like me to read in the comments. Okay, let's get started. When Lena arrived in the kitchen the next morning for breakfast, only her grandfather was awake. Carimera, she said. He nodded and blinked in acknowledgement. She sat down across from him at the small kitchen table. He pointed to the box of Rice Krispies at her. Nope. He pointed the box of Rice Krispies at her. She happened to love Rice Krispies. Evcharisto, she thanked him, about reaching the limits of her Greek. Grandma had left out bowls and spoons. Boppy handed her the milk. They chewed. She looked at him, and he looked into his bowl. Was he annoyed because she was there? Did he like to eat breakfast alone? Was he very disappointed that she couldn't speak Greek? Well, he could teach her. There's nothing more effective than speaking to a native speaker. Okay, anyway. He poured himself another bowl of cereal. Yum, 2-bowl Boppy. Boppy was kind of wiry, but he clearly had a good appetite. It was funny. Sorry. As she looked at Boppy, she recognized some of her own features. The nose, for instance. Almost everybody else in the family had the famous Caligaris nose. Her father, her aunt, Effie, the big, prominent nose gave character to all who wore it. Of course, her mother had a different nose, a Patmos nose, but even that was sufficiently distinctive. Lena's nose was small, delicate, characterless. She'd always wondered where she'd gotten it, but now she saw it right in the middle of Boppy's face. Did that mean that she had the true Caligaris nose? Since she was small, she'd secretly wish she had the big family nose. Guys, I can't wait to have the big family nose. Now that she saw where she got hers, she liked it a little better. Oh, that's sweet. Come on, Boppy. Come on, Dream Team Lena and Boppy. She made herself stop looking at Boppy. She was no doubt making him uncomfortable. She should definitely say something. It was probably very awkward for her to sit here and not be saying anything. I'm going to make a painting this morning, she said. She gestured like she was painting. He seemed to snap out of his cereal reverie. I'm talking too much, but I love cereal. What's your guys' favorite cereal? Comment below. She knew that feeling so well. He raised his eyebrows and nodded. Whether he understood a word, she couldn't tell. I was thinking I'd walk down to the village. Are there stairs all the way down? Boppy considered and nodded. She could tell he wanted to get back to his contemplation of the cereal box. Was he tired of her? Was she annoying him? Okay, well, I'll see you later. Have a good day, Boppy. Adio. She walked upstairs and packed up her painting things with the oddest feeling that she was Effie and she'd just eaten breakfast with herself. Okay, sorry, I didn't understand that for a second. Drink break. She put on the pants with a wrinkly white linen shirt. She slung her backpack containing her palette, her foldable easel, and her panels over her shoulder. Just as she reached the stairs, Kostos arrived at the front door, delivering a platter of freshly baked pastries from his grandmother. Grandma hugged him and kissed him and thanked him in such a fast Greek that Lena couldn't make out a single word. Grandma spotted Lena and got that look in her eye. Quickly, she invited Kostos inside. Lena wished Effie were awake. She made for the door. Lena, sit down, have a pastry, Grandma ordered. I'm going painting. I need to get started before the sun gets too high and the shadows disappear, Lena claimed. It wasn't technically true, because she was starting a new painting today, which meant the shadows could be any which way. Kostos migrated toward the front door himself. I have to get to work, Vilia. I'm late already. Grandma happily settled for the idea that at least the two would have to walk together outside. Grandma winked at Lena as she followed Kostos out the door. He's a nice boy, she stage whispered to Lena. Is it Lena or Lena? It was Grandma's constant refrain. I'm going to call her Lena. You love to paint, Kostos observed once out in the sunshine. I do, Lena said, especially here. She wasn't sure why she offered that last gratuitous bit. Gratuitous. I know it's beautiful here, Costo said thoughtfully. Looking out over the glittering water, but I can hardly see it. These are the only views I know. Oh, so sad. Lena felt the desire for a real conversation coming on. She was interested in what he said. Then she thought of her grandmother, probably watching them through the window. "Which way are you walking?" Lena asked. It was a slightly mean trick she was setting up. Costos looked at her sideways, clearly trying to gauge what was the best answer would be. Honesty prevailed. Downhill to the forge. Easy enough. I'm heading uphill. I'm going to paint the interior today. She began drifting away from him up the hill. He was obviously unhappy. Did he discern that she'd set him up? Most boys weren't that sensitive to rejection. "Okay," he said. "Have a good day." "You too," she said breezily. It was kind of a shame in a way, walking uphill, because she'd woken today with a real lust to paint the boathouse. Tibbity. Tibbity. You would hate this place. Wholesome, all-American people doing sports all day. High fives are common. I even witnessed a group hug. Sports cliches all day long. Almost makes you happy to be at Wallman's, down it. Just kidding, Tib. Of course I love it, but every day here I'm glad my real life is not like this, full of people like me, because then I wouldn't have you, would I? That's so nice. The way these girls talk to each other is so nice. Oh, I'm in love. Did I tell you that yet? His name is Eric. He's a coach and 100% off limits. But you know how I get. Love your BFF. B. Drink break. When Tibby got back to Wallman's, she discovered two things. First, that she had performed a fireable offense by skipping out on so much of her shift, as Duncan had wasted no time in informing her. She could have a last chance, but she wouldn't be paid for part of the day that she did work. Tibby was beginning to think she would owe money to Wallman's at the end of the job. The second discovery was the fainting girl's wallet lying next to her own wallet in her plastic see-through bad employee bag. Oh shit. She found the library card listing the girl's name, Bailey Graffman. Tibby walked outside to the payphone. The white pages, thank goodness, listed one Graffman with 2 F's on a street near Wallman's. Tibby got right back on her bike and rode the few blocks to the Graffmans. A woman she guessed was Mrs. Graffman opened the door. Hi. My name is Tibby, and, You're the one who found Bailey at Wallman's, the woman said, looking fairly appreciative. Right, well, it turns out I took her wallet to find contact information and forgot to give it back, Tibby explained. There were only $4 in it, she added defensively. Aw, Tibby, you low-key killing me, girl. Mrs. Graffman looked at Tibby in confusion. Right. Then she smiled. Bailey's resting upstairs. Why don't you give to her? I'm sure she'll want to thank you personally. Upstairs and straight ahead, the woman instructed as Tibby trudged up the steps. Hi? Tibby said awkwardly at the girl's door. The room was decorated with ribbon wallpaper and puffy yellow curtains, but there were boy band posters every few feet. I'm Tibby. You're the girl from Wallman's, Bailey said, sitting up. Yeah. Tibby walked close to the bed and offered the wallet. You ripped off my wallet, Bailey demanded with narrowed eyes. Tibby scowled. What an obnoxious little kid. I didn't rip off your wallet. The hospital used it to contact your parents, and I held on to it. You're welcome. She tossed it on the bed. Bailey grabbed it and looked inside, counting the bills. I think I had more than $4. I think you didn't. 'Cause you took it. Tibby shook her head in disbelief. Are you joking? Do you seriously think I would steal your money and then come all the way over here to deliver your pathetic little wallet? What's there to return other than the money? Your horoscope? Avert a big emergency in case you forget your moon sign? Bailey looked surprised. Tibby felt bad. Maybe she'd overdone it. Bailey didn't back down, though. And what important stuff have you got in your wallet? A license to ride your bike? A Wallman's employee ID? She said. Wallman's! With more scorn than even Tibby could muster. This girl? I like her. Tibby blinked. How old are you? 10? Who taught you to be so vicious? Bailey's eyebrows descended angrily. I'm 12. Now Tibby felt worse. She always hated people who assumed she was younger than she was, just because she was small and skinny and flat-chested. How old are you? Bailey wanted to know. She had an excited, combative look in her eye. 13? Bailey, time to take your medicine, Bailey's mom called up the stairs. Do you want to send your friend down? Tibby looked around. Was she supposed to be the friend? Sure, Bailey called back. She looked amused. Do you mind? Tibby shook her head. Of course not, considering how you accept favors. Tibby trudged back downstairs, wondering what in the world she was doing here. I don't know, but this girl's really funny. I like her. Sorry, I had to move something. Mrs. Graffman handed her a tall glass of orange juice and a little paper cup full of pills. Everything okay up there? She asked. I guess, Tibby answered. Mrs. Graffman searched Tibby's face for a moment. Bailey likes to test people, she offered for no particular reason. Tibby likes to test people. It was creepy. How many times had she heard her own mother say those exact words? I'm sure it's because of her illness. Tibby didn't think before she asked. What illness? Mrs. Graffman looked surprised that Tibby didn't know. She has leukemia. Oh. Mrs. Graffman sounded like she was trying to be matter-of-fact, like she said the word a million times and it didn't scare her anymore, but Tibby could see that it did. Tibby felt that falling feeling. Mrs. Graffman looked at her with too much intensity, though, as though Tibby could say something that mattered. I'm sorry to hear that, she mumbled stiffly. Tibby made herself go back up the stairs. There was something too sad about the searching look of a sick kid's mother. She paused at Bailey's door, sloshing the orange juice a little, feeling horrible for the mean things she said. Granted, Bailey started it, but Bailey had leukemia. Bailey was sitting up in bed now, looking eager to get back to the battle. Tibby plastered some approximation of a bland, friendly smile on her face. She handed Bailey her pills. So anyway, did you lie about your age at Wallman's to get the job? Isn't the minimum age 15? Bailey asked. Tibby cleared her throat, careful to keep her smile from sagging. Yeah, and actually, I'm 15. Bailey was clearly annoyed. I'm sorry if you guys can hear the construction outside. A water main broke, so they have two beeping equipment and a lot of back and forth, rumbling. Okay, Bailey was clearly annoyed. You don't look 15. The smile was strained. Tibby couldn't remember how a regular smile was supposed to feel. This one had probably degraded into a grimace. I guess not, Tibby said quietly. She really wanted to leave. Bailey's eyes suddenly filled with tears. Tibby looked away. She told you, didn't she? Bailey demanded. Told me what? Tibby asked the blanket, hating herself for pretending not to know when she knew perfectly well. She hated when people did that. That I'm sick. Bailey's tough face was holding up about as well as Tibby's friendly smile. No, Tibby murmured, hating her own cowardice. I didn't think you were a liar, Bailey shot back. Ooh, fight. Tibby's eyes, searching for any destination other than Bailey's face, landed on a piece of netted cloth, stuck through with needle and a piece of red yarn lying on Bailey's bedspread. Neat stitches spelled U-R-my. What, sunshine? The thing struck Tibby with a tragic sort of pathetic. As tragic and sort of pathetic. I better go, Tibby said in a near whisper. Oh, I'd better go. Fine, get out of here, Bailey said. Okay, see you around. Tibby said robotically. She shuffled toward the door. Nice smock, Bailey practically spat at her back. Thanks, Tibby heard herself saying as she fled. Dear Carmen, some summer I want all of us to come here together. That is the happiest thing I can imagine. The first day I walked about 1,000,000 steps down the cliffs to a tiny fishing village on the caldera. Caldera means cauldron. It's this body of water that filled in after a monster volcano exploded and sank most of the island. After I painted these pretty Greek boats, it got to be broiling hot, so I stripped down to my bathing suit and dove right into the clear, cold water. I made a painting for you. It's a bell tower right here in Oya. My shy grandpa, who doesn't speak English, came around and studied my painting for a long time. He nodded approvingly, which was pretty cute. Oh, go Bobby. I told you, Lena, Bobby, Dream Team. Bobby. Bobby. I called my grandfather Babu. Do you guys remember the episode of Full House when Babui came and he died? And I don't know why I'm laughing, that's not funny. But why did they span it like that? Why did they set it up so quickly? I don't know. Anyway. Effie and I rode the mopeds to the biggest village on the island and drank unbelievably strong coffee at an outdoor cafe. We were both strung out on caffeine. I got anxious and silent, and Effie flirted outrageously with the waiters and even random passerby. There's this guy, Costos. He walks past our house about 6 times a day. He keeps trying to catch my eye and start a conversation, but I won't play. My grandmother's dearest hope is that we'll fall in love. What could be less romantic than that? Other than that, nothing really big has happened. Nothing big enough for the pants. They're still waiting here patiently. I can't wait to get a letter from you. The mail is so slow here. I wish I had a computer. I hope you and Al are having the very best time. Love you, Lena. Look at that. I don't think I was speaking like that as, 15? Very well-written children. What am I doing here? Carmen gazed around the noisy room. Not a single noise or face distinguished itself in her ears or eyes. It was just random South Carolina teenagerness. Krista was chattering with her friends in the backyard. Paul was being important with his babe-like girlfriend and jock buddies. Carmen stood alone by the staircase, forgetting to care that she looked like an unforgivable loser. She felt weirdly numb and invisible. It wasn't that she missed her friends. She was starting to wonder if she needed them around to feel like she existed at all. Lydia and her dad had tickets to the chamber orchestra concert. For the record, her dad hated classical music. Sorry. They thought that Carmen going to a fun party with Krista and Paul would make everything good. Even a sullen girl who'd spent the last 4 days pouting in the guest room couldn't resist a fun party. Her father looked so depressingly hopeful at the idea she'd just gone. What did it matter? Sorry. A short guy sideswiped her shoulder. Sorry, he said, spilling half his plastic cup of beer on the carpet. He stopped and looked at her. Hey, he said. Hey, Carmen mumbled back. Who are you? He asked. He looked at her breasts as though he were asking them. Ugh, teenagers. Sorry if there's background noise. She crossed her arms. I'm Krista and Paul Rodman's, their mom is my... His eyes were now wandering away from her. She didn't bother to finish her sentence. Who cared? See you later, she said, and walked away. Suddenly she was standing next to Paul. This was pitiful. He nodded at her. He was holding a Coke. He was probably between beers. Have you met Kelly? He asked. Kelly had her arm snaked around Paul's waist. She was so attractive as to actually be ugly. Her cheekbones were too prominent, her eyes too far apart, and her skinny collarbones jutted out. I was going to say something, but I don't want it to come off mean, but I'm feeling like I know someone who looks like that. Hi, Kelly, Carmen said wearily. And you are? Kelly asked. I'm Carmen, Carmen said. She could tell Kelly was threatened that Paul knew a girl she didn't know. And considering that Paul said a total of about 7 words per day, he most likely hadn't explained to Kelly that there was a girl living in his house. I live with Paul, she said just to be devious. Kelly's narrow eyebrows ascended to her hairline. Carmen then glided away. I'm going to get a drink, she murmured, casting flirtatious eyes at Paul. Oh my God. Poor Paul. This would take him a year's worth of words to explain. Do you guys think that Paul and Carmen are gonna date? Or do you think that she's just messing with them? Tibby will cut you up Nikki's... No, my God. Tibby, will you cut up Nikki's chicken? Tibby's mom asked. Usually Tibby would have complained, but tonight she just leaned over and did it. Nikki seized her knife. Me wanna cut. Me wanna... Patiently, Tibby unwound his fat, sticky fingers from the butter knife. No knives for babies, Nikki, Tibby droned, sounding exactly like her mother. Nikki expressed his feelings by picking up 2 big handfuls of his noodles and throwing them on the floor. Grab it, her mother instructed. Tibby did. There was always that moment at dinner when Nikki started throwing his food on the ground. The trick was to pick the moment to grab his plate. Tibby gazed forlornly at the noodles lying on the synthetic washable blue carpet. It was so resistant to stains, Tibby suspected it was made of saran wrap. There used to be a straw rug that itched her feet. There used to be Mexican candlesticks and salt and pepper shakers that Tibby herself had made from clay. Now there were ones from Pottery Barn. Tibby couldn't say exactly the day when her salt and pepper shakers disappeared, but she could date it generally. It happened not too long after her mom stopped being a sculptor and took a test to become a real estate agent. "Egert, me want Egert," Nikki demanded. Tibby's mom sighed. She was feeding a bottle of milk to a very sleepy Catherine. "Tibby, would you mind getting him a yogurt?" she asked wearily. "I'm still eating," Tibby complained. Particularly on the nights her dad worked late, her mom expected Tibby to step in and be a co-parent. Like Tibby had decided to have these kids with her. It was irritating. "Yeah, I don't really like that, but okay." "Fine," Tibby's mom stood up and plunked Catherine in Tibby's lap. Catherine started crying. Tibby stuck the bottle back in her mouth. When Tibby was little, her dad had worked as a journalist and a public defender, and briefly as an organic farmer, and he was always home for dinner. But after her mom started spending her time in people's big clean houses and seeing all the nice things they had, her dad started practicing law in a private firm, and now he was only home about half the nights. It seemed poor planning to Tibby to have these extra kids and then never be home anymore. Her parents used to talk about simplicity all the time, but nowadays they seem to spend all their time getting new stuff and not having very much time to play with it. Oh. Nicky was digging both hands in his yogurt and then licking his fingers. Tibby's mother snatched the yogurt away and Nicky started howling. "Well, he's eating it." Tibby had thought about mentioning Bailey and her leukemia to her mom, but as usual, it was hard to see where any conversation would fit in. She went up to her room and recharged the batteries for her camera. She gazed at her sleeping computer, the power button pulsing under its masking tape like a slow heartbeat. Usually her computer was flashing and whirring all evening as she IM'd her friends. Tonight they were all far away. Somehow the masking tape looked like a gag over the computer's mouth. "Hey, Mimi," she said. Mimi was sleeping. Tibby added food to Mimi's dish and changed her water. Mimi stayed asleep. Later, as Tibby began to doze off with her lights and clothes still on, her thoughts came unstuck in that way they did, and she thought of geriatric diapers and antiperspirant and sterile wipes and bacteria-free soap and extra-absorbent panty shields and Bailey lying in a mess on the floor. "There's your boyfriend," Diana said, watching Eric as he strode onto the deck. Bridget fixed her eyes on him. "Look up, you." He did. Then he looked away so fast it was almost gratifying. He noticed her all right. "I am so sorry." Okay. Okay. Something just fell across the room. He took a seat on the other side of the deck. Bridget dug into her lasagna. She was starving. She loved institutional food served in big quantities. She was weird that way. "He probably has a girlfriend in New York," a girl named Rosie said. "We'll see about that," Bridget said provocatively. Diana shoved her elbow. "Bridget, you're insane." Emily was shaking her head. "Give it up. You'll get in huge trouble." "Who's gonna tell?" Bridget asked. Diana put on her Sigmund Freud expression. "Anyway, getting in trouble is kind of the point, isn't it?" "Okay. Of course it's not the point," Bridget said snappishly. "Have you taken one look at the guy?" She stood up and walked to the buffet table to get another helping of lasagna. She took a circuitous route in order to get past Eric. She knew her friends would be watching. She stopped right behind him. She waited for a pause in the conversation he was having with Marcy, his assistant coach. She leaned over. The place was so noisy. It was perfectly understandable that she should lean close to his ear. A curtain of her hair fell forward as she leaned, brushing his shoulder. "What time is the scrimmage?" she asked. He hardly dared turn his head. 10. "Okay." She was making him nervous. "Thanks." She stood back up straight. "We'll kill y'all." Now he turned to look at her, surprised and almost angry. Immediately he saw from her face that she was teasing him. "We'll see about that." At least he was smiling. She drifted to the serving table, allowing herself one quick glance at her friends' impressed faces. "Ha," she mouthed. "Dear Carmen, the cabin girls have upped my odds with Eric to 40-60. I'm being very flirtatious and very bad, you would laugh. What's a girl to do stuck 1,000 miles out here in the ocean? We went sightseeing in the closest town, Mulehe. That's where Eric's mom is from. We saw this big mission church and a prison called Carcel Sin Cerriturus. A prison without locks. They let the prisoners work on farms in the daytime and come back to their cells to sleep at night. Hope you're having fun hanging with Al. All love, B. Lena had one more day with the pants, and she had to make them count. So far, she had been her usual lame self. Solitary and routine-loving, carefully avoiding any path that might lead to spontaneous human interaction. She was overall a terrible first escort for the traveling pants. Today, though, she'd have an adventure. She'd do something. She wouldn't let her friends down, or the pants, or herself, come to think of it. She walked up over the crest of the cliff, and onto that flat land at the top. It was much emptier up here. In the distance, hills rose, probably signaling yet a higher cliff plunging into the sea. But here the land was gentle, though it was arid, rocky cliffs smoothed into wide, green vineyards and meadows. The air felt hotter and the sun even stronger. These are lucky pants, she thought, half a mile or so later when she came upon an exquisite little arbor. It was a perfect grove of olive trees with glinting silver-green leaves. The olives were small and hard, still babies. At one end she discovered a small spring-fed pond. It was so private, so quiet, so lovely. It felt like her place, like she was the first person to ever set eyes on it, like maybe it had never existed before she got here with her magic pants. Immediately she set up her easel and began to paint. Drink break. Those are lucky pants, she thought, a half mile or so later, when she came upon an exquisite little arbor. I already read that part, I'm sorry. By the time the sun had risen to the top of the sky, Lena was bathed head to toe in salty sweat. The sun beat down so hard it made her dizzy. Sweat dripped down from her thick dark hair onto her neck and temples. She wished she'd brought a hat. She cast a longing distance at the pond. More than that, she'd wish she'd remembered to bring her bathing suit. She looked around. There was no one as far as she could see. She couldn't make out a single house or farm. Girl. She felt a little creak of sweat flowing down her spine. She had to get to that pond. Shy even with herself, Lena took off her clothes slowly. I can't believe I'm doing this. She stripped down her bra and underwear, casting her clothing onto a pile. She considered wearing her underclothes into the water, but that seemed embarrassingly prudish. She looked at the pants. They challenged her to get naked fast. Lena said as she waded in. It was funny to hear her voice aloud. Her thoughts and perceptions usually existed so deep inside her they rarely made it to her surface without deliberate effort. Even when she saw something genuinely funny on television, she never laughed out loud when she was alone. Okay, girl. She ducked all the way under the water and then came up again. She floated languidly with just her face above the surface. The sun warmed her cheeks and eyelids. She splashed a little, loving the swish of water over every part of her body. This is the most perfect moment of my life, she decided. She felt like an ancient Greek goddess alone under the sky. She let her arms float out to her sides, tipped her head back, closed her eyes, and just levitated. Every muscle loose and soft, and she could stay this way until the sun set, until it rose again, until August, maybe forever. Every muscle in her body snapped to attention at the sound of rustling grass. In a fraction of an instant, she found her feet on the pebbly bottom of the pond and stood. She drew in a sharp breath. Someone was there. Do you guys think it's Costos? Probably. She saw the shadow of a figure obscured behind a tree. Was it a man? An animal? Were there vicious man-eating animals on Santorini? Her peace was broken, smashed to bits. She felt her heart nearly bouncing out of her chest. Fear told her to sink her body back underwater, but a bigger fear told her to run away. She pulled herself out of the pond, and the figure emerged. It was was Costos. We called it. She was staring directly at Costos, and far worse, Costos was staring directly at her. She was so stunned, she took a moment to react. Costos, she shouted, her voice a ragged shriek. What are you? I'm sorry, he said. He should have averted his eyes, but he didn't. He said, Ma'am. In 3 steps, she'd reached her clothes. She snatched them and covered herself with the bundle. Did you follow me? She nearly screamed. Have you been spying on me? How long were you here? I'm sorry, he said again, and muttered something in Greek. He turned around and walked away. Still soaking wet, she yanked on her clothes haphazardly. In a storm of anger, she threw her paint supplies in her backpack, probably smearing her painting. She strode across the meadow and toward the cliff, too mad to link her thoughts. He'd been following her, and if her pants were inside out, how dare she stare at her like that? She realized by the time she neared the house that her shirt was off-kilter by 2 buttons, and between pond water and sweat, it was stuck to her body almost obscenely. She banged into the house and threw her backpack on the ground. Grandma sped out of the kitchen and gasped at the sight of her. Lena, lamb, what happened to you? Grandma's face was full of worry, and that made Lena want to cry. Her chin quivered the way it used to when she was 5. What? Tell me, Grandma asked, gazing at Lena's inside-out pants and misbuttoned shirt with wide, confused eyes. Lena sputtered for words. She tried to harness 1 or 2 of her spinning thoughts. Costos is not a nice boy. She finally burst out, full of shaky fury. Then she stomped up to her room. Oh my God, ending on a cliffhanger. I hope you guys liked that. I kind of wish there was more Carmen in these sections, but that's okay because she's probably coming up next. Okay, I hope everybody had a beautiful day. I hope you're staying warm. If it's cold, I hope